Here at TrueNorthMagazine.com is a story by Administrator entitled A Guide to Monsters of Alaska. It's written by Corey Coolidge. The top of the world can be one of the most dark and desolate places on Earth. Deep in the Alaska forest, swamps and mountains lurk, with wolves and bears, yes, but also strange creatures born of nightmare. Many stories were provided over 100 years ago by Edward Nelson, an ethnologist, looking to study the people of Alaska. Move over Chupacabra and Bigfoot. There are stranger creatures creeping in this abridged guide to ghosts and monsters of the last frontier. Before we dive into our list, understand that while many see these as creatures of myth and lore, others have a deeper connection. Supernatural experiences can be very personal events in a person's life. One never knows what they might encounter, and this guide seeks to help readers identify and hopefully come out of such a run intact. God forbid you'll ever have to use this guide in a practical manner, but just in case, that's why it's here. For those who are skeptical of the existence of the supernatural, know that these legends also fill a gap in our knowledge. They tell stories of how things in our world might work and the lessons people have learned over the ages. Lessons that might still be salient today. They are a window into our history and culture. First up, the Tizaruk, or the Palrayuk. Description. Described by Mr. Nelson, they are man-eating creatures with horns that curl forward and out. Their eyes are small and beady. Their body is shaped like a crocodile or a snake, with a 7-foot head and a thick flipper-like tail. Their habitat is swamps and lakes and rivers of the Yukon. There they wait under the water for an animal to drink or to wander too far into the water. Then they strike, dragging their victim down. If you ever see parts of an animal or person floating in a body of water, beware, a Tizaruk may be close by. At the birth of creation, when man first walked the earth, so too did the Tizaruk. The raven came to men and warned them about this creature, telling them which lakes were perilous to drink from, lest they be eaten. However, the Tizaruk can be easily tricked. Indigenous Alaskans would paint their boats with pictures of Tizaruk to make them think the boat was one of them, or perhaps simply to appease them. Otherwise, they seem to be vulnerable to normal weapons. In fact, Nelson claims they are extinct, at least having been killed by a hunter. The last having been killed by a hunter in vengeance for killing his spouse, if you can believe that. The next is cats with a K. Cats are not our furry little purring pets we adore. Cats are the children from a union between a man and a bear. The description can vary widely. Some are deformed, like a two-headed or a one-legged bear. Others are pure monstrosities. A prospector in the Thomas Bay area, south of Juneau, reported encountering creatures in the strangest story ever told by Harry Culp. They seemed to look like a blend of sexless men and monkeys, whose bodies were covered in long, coarse hair and scabs. Their habitat is the Alaskan Panhandle in the southeast, as they are primarily a legend of the Tlingit people. Tlingit. They could also be related to Bigfoot legends of the American Northwest. There are many legends from the Panhandle of bears running off with men and women, who then get married. The name Katz comes from a man named Katz from Sitka, who married a bear that could change into a woman. The final fate of the man Katz was a bloody one. He was eventually killed by his own monstrous offspring, jealous of the old family for which he longed. Cats are very tough to kill. Legend has it that thousands of hunters have tried and failed. The prospector who authored the strangest story fired his gun into them with no effect. They may be immune to most attacks due to their thick, bare hide and their strange anatomy. Their one weak point may be their heart, but finding the heart on cats can be difficult. For example, the heart of a two-headed bear is between the heads, making it very difficult to locate. All said, cats may not be as dangerous as they look. The prospector described them as dangerous even though he fired first in fear. The Tlingit people of the Panhandle described them as passive unless provoked. The Tinmi Ukpuk, or the Thunderbird. We're just going to say Thunderbird. Most depictions of the Thunderbird are of a giant eagle with a black tail and a severely curved beak. Thunderbirds are so large that they hunt whales as food. Thunderbirds can be found all along the coast of Alaska, from the Bering Strait to the Panhandle. As their name suggests, they come out during thunderstorms, or they may be the spirit of the thunderstorm itself. Stories say that the blink of their eyes creates lightning, and the beat of their wings create thunder. It is unknown if there are many thunderbirds or just a single one. They may be physical creatures who nest and create offspring, manifestations of thunderstorms that are both real and ephemeral. If the latter is the case, thunderbirds may be as old as creation. In Ojibwe traditions in eastern Canada, thunderbirds were created to fight underwater spirits. This seems to coincide with Alaskan myths of the birds hunting whales. As creatures, there may be a way to defeat them, but as spirits, they can only be appeased. The best course of action, therefore, is to seek shelter, which may be a given considering you would already be in a thunderstorm. Here's the Lake Iliamna monster, a 15 to 30-foot long predatory fish that can swallow whole caribou. Some say it could be an ancient ichthyosaur, a type of extinct marine reptile with a shark-like body, similar to how the Loch Ness Monster may be an ancient plesiosaur. Jeremy Wade of Animal Planet's show River Monsters speculates that the monster could just be populations of white sturgeon, as their habitat does include the Gulf of Alaska. At Lake Iliamna, the largest lake in Alaska and the 8th largest in the U.S., it's 77 miles long and 22 miles wide, with a maximum depth of 1,000 feet. No one knows the origin of this beast, if there are more than one, or if it is truly an ancient ichthyosaur. Many people have tried to prove its existence. Even the Anchorage Daily News once got in on the action, offering a $100,000 bounty to anyone who could provide concrete proof of the monster. Its weaknesses: apparently cameras, as no one has yet to capture of it a clear image. It also has a predilection for red boats, so please choose a different color when boating on the lake. The next is the Sadanalasnia. Description: human-shaped save for a tail and covered in fur except for its face. It may be human-sized or even twice that. Its most defining feature: its long nose, which grows as long as a foot. This creature is exclusive to the Kenai Peninsula and is found only in summer. Perhaps it hibernates for the winter. The Sadanalasnia is also known as the people-stealing monster, from whence it will be known from now on. It doesn't kill a person, at least not directly. Instead, it lures people away using animal sounds, most notably bird song. The victim will fall into a coma and can be revived by a good luck song, or holy water, or the sign of the cross. This creature may have ties to the Nakhani, or wild men of the Nahanni Valley in Canada, who many consider a type of Sasquatch. Weakness. The people-stealing monster imitates animals imprecisely. If you can recognize the signs, you can easily escape one, or even find and rescue its victims. And then there's ghosts. The souls of the dead that can still be encountered. They can interact in small ways with their environment. Rick Goodfellow of Anchorage Ghost Tours has had reports of ghosts touching or pulling on people's clothing. The biggest difference is in culture, how different peoples view ghosts. To Christians, a ghost is something or someone that has been denied heaven, while to indigenous Alaskans, it is just another state of being, a perfectly natural way of existence, not to be feared. Anywhere there are people, there can be ghosts. They exist in both the cities and the countryside. Every ghost has its own story and place in culture, be it ghosts of theaters, ghosts of hotels, or ghosts of the ancestors of indigenous Alaskans. Some died violently and are said to be seeking justice, while others just seem to exist. Learning the history of a ghost may give a person insight to local history. Goodfellow has had encounters on his ghost tours and stated he has never had a fatality due to a ghost. There are reports of bruises and scratch marks, however, that victims attribute to ghosts. Goodfellow says the best advice is to be respectful and calm.